Okay, on the bench today, out of a 2001 Mercedes-Benz E320, we have the good old 722.6. This actually is a 4MATIC. Here is the ring gear for the transfer case. That's held on with a 12.30 millimeter socket that we're going to take off. All right, so had a couple of speed sensor codes. You know, when you hear speed sensor codes, you think right away, okay, the conductor plate is the problem. So I was talking to the wholesale account that we towed it in from, and I said, you know, what happens is something we can pick up and drive here, because if it's just something with a speed sensor, you know, we can repair it. And the owner of the gas station said, well, you know, this thing actually stops moving when it gets hot. So that explains probably why there's a speed sensor code, and we'll be dealing with the good old clogged filter. So we had my guy that does our towing for us, a local flatbed, pick it up and checked it out the next day, scanned it, and again we had a P220A Y3-6N speed, compare, and we had a 2502 gear implausible or transmission slipping. And I did verify the complaint. You know, we did drive it down the block, but I left it running out in the front probably for about 30 minutes. Then I went in. It actually did move, but I backed up, and then I went to, I didn't want to go too far because I didn't know if I was going to get stuck. And then I went, you know, to park it straight ahead, and then you could hear the noise of the sound of the classic sound of a clogged filter. So we got the okay on this. We're going to do this, and I'm filming this teardown because this is a 2001. It's, you know, an early one. And I never did a teardown with actually double-sided friction. So 96 to 01, I have a bounty coming. I have no parts for this yet. But it's everything pretty much is double-sided frictions. Also, the F1 Sprague is early. It's a little shorter, and I think that went up to, I'm thinking maybe 03 or maybe 05. I'm not sure, but there's a late Sprague and an early Sprague for the F1. The F2 Sprague is all the same. And that should be updated anyway. A lot of times those elements fall out, and that Sprague, definitely, both Spragues actually should be replaced on every overhaul. Very important part. All right, so what else? I think that's about it. We're going to chunk this thing down real quick. And I guess that's about it. So I'll get a little closer, and then we'll take it apart, see, you know, I'm thinking personally the converter came apart because the converters stink on this, they're horrible. So I'm thinking the clutch pack, which is either 2 clutches or 3 clutches in the converter, probably flaked off, got into the transmission. Now we may find the K2 clutch burned because of when the screen gets clogged, it kills the line pressure. So we'll see actually what we're going to find. When we tear this down, the flue was pretty black, but let me get a little closer and we will get started. One of the things actually I wanted to mention, I know I had something that I did want to mention. These transmissions again first came out in 1996, and there's 5 rings on the output shaft which were, you know, pretty much Teflon. So a lot of times what happened is those rings would wear out. And the transmission would be okay. The transmission would be okay cold, but when it got hot, it started to slip. And the reason why it did is because the oil was leaking past those rings, so they updated them to like the hard plastic rings. I'm not sure what's on this one. It is an 01, so I'm thinking it may be those, you know, updated rings, the hard plastic rings. But we'll see once we get this apart. But I did want to bring that up on the earlier ones with the rings on the output. She had 5 of them. All right, so let me get a little closer. We're going to tear this down. All right, first thing we're going to do, I want to get this nut off here. I already knocked the peen out of the way, so I'm going to get my 30 millimeter socket, 1/2-inch gun, and we'll zip that nut off and take the ring gear off. Okay, so there is the 30 millimeter nut. And then after the compressor stops, I can actually shut it off. Okay, There's that rear seal. It's actually, okay. All right, here's the ring gear, which goes into the input of the transfer case. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the sleeve out. All right, so that's a 7mm bolt. All right, the bolt stays with that. Let's see if this will come right out. So you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to pop the bell housing off so I can get a little bit of grip on this. If that gets ruined, it's no big deal. Buy another one, put it on. All right, so we're going to get torque 45. We're going to take all the outer bolts out. 2 out here, and the rest here. Okay. Now let's pop the bell housing off. Here's the B2 clutch. Alright, so we can take also the K1 drum out. We can't take the K2 drum out because now we got to get the valve body out because of the speed sensors. Okay, so we do have a banner kit coming, like I said. Well, let's try to get this out now so we can flip this and take the pan and valve body off. I'm hoping I can get this thing out, but this thing's in here pretty good. There we go. Okay. Alright, fluid's pretty bad. There goes my phone. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay, back with you. All right, so we got this out. All right, so you know what this does have? Even the input here has the early style rings on it. They're going to be replaced with updated rings. So this actually also has 108,000 miles on it. And now we're going to go with T30. T30. Get the pan down. Some of those things are stuck on there, so I'll have to work on that. But let's just get the pan off. Okay. That's one. Nice. All right, so let's get the pan off here if we can. So we got some of these couple of these things stuck on here. There we go. Any more? One more. There we go. Okay. All right, pan's a little crappy. Maybe I'll see if I got one. It's a little rusty. Right, filter. All right, now let's zip the valve body off. everybody. Put some covers on here. So we'll just take those off, take a look at the conductor plate with the solenoids, your pressure solenoids, 2 shift solenoids, shift solenoid here. Shift solenoid here, lockup solenoid. Again, the 2 pressure, 2 shift, shift solenoid, lockup solenoid. And the conductor plate. Okay. All right, so now, go ahead and take this K2 drum out. All right, that clutch. There are 2, on these early ones, there's 2 different, we'll go over that, K2 clutches. So if you ever want to order a banner kit, you're really going to have to measure the inside diameter of the K2 clutch from the tip of the tooth to the tip of the tooth. I think it's either 5 1/4 or just shy of 5 1/2. All right. And this does have the very early rings on them. I've seen it before, you know, it slips real bad when it gets hot, and these are the early rings. These rings are no good, so they're going to be changed to the updated ones. All right, so now let's get the clutches out here. Large set K3. You know, let me go get one of my other screwdrivers. Just give me 1 second, I'll be right back. I have it on the other side of the shop. Okay, all right, so let's get the clutch out. It's actually, I think I might have said by accident K3, this is B3. K3 is here. And a pretty thick snap ring here. Okay. Right. And now we got 2 bolts holding this B2 drum assembly in. Okay. We got the torque gear. There should be a shim. There's 2 shims, so we don't want to lose those. Keep those separate. All right, so there is no shim. Sometimes there's a shim on this side, and there is no shim on this side. Okay. All right, so the transmission is stripped. So what I want to do now is just get rid of this oil. You know, it looks like there also may have been evidence at one point of water in here, because I'm looking, I see some bubbles here on the, and I'm looking at little, looks like some rust here. So may have been water in this thing. And if that's the case, very possible, a radiator may have to be done. We're going to look at the rest of this, and I'm going to call them and let them know what I found. It seems like there's an awful lot of floating around on the bench. Okay, so let me get set up here, and we'll basically just take a look, take the rest of the stuff apart, look at the clutches, look at the sprags, open the pump, and I guess that would be good. Okay, so give me a few minutes. I'm going to get set up for this, and I'll be right back. All right, so let's take the back section apart first. is the K3 drum. All right, so you know what? Let's get these rings out. And a lot of times these rings, I mean, this is good, but these rings would be worn down to nothing. All right, so these 100% are going to be changed. They would be changed anyway because of the overhaul, but they are the early ones, and they cause some problems. Snap ring. I'm going to take the. We got the bearing out here. It looks like we even got a little rust on this, so let's take this, put these aside. Nice transmission to work on. All right, so here is the K3 drum. All right, so we're going to take a look at that. Here's the sun gear. We're going to take a look at the sprag there. All right, here's the planet. All right, this bearing here will come off. Okay. And we have a washer, a race, bearing race. Take that off. And you have the other rings here. Let's see how the other ones are. That's not too bad. I remember one of these things was worn down to nothing. There was nothing left of the ring. And it slipped real bad when it got hot. Okay, so you know, these rings aren't that bad, but they've been updated. Okay, we got a bearing here that's kind of fixed on there. All right, this feels okay. Gears look good. Let's take a look at the clutch pack. So again, all of these should be double-sided. 96 to 01, and then at 01 they went to the, yeah, these are actually flaked, no good. Yeah, these are no good. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to take a look at this sprag. A lot of times these sprags fall apart, especially the K2. All right, so we're going to get a snap ring so we can pull it apart. Okay, here is the snap ring. Then we can pull this off. Okay, so this race looks good. Now let's pull this spring out. There it is. Only that doesn't happen. Here is the snap ring. All right, let's see what happens now. Oh, this didn't fall apart, but it's the early style, so we're going to get rid of this. Okay, and then this is all good here. There. All right, now we're going to take a look at K2 clutch. Okay, first we're going to take this snap. There's a snap ring here holding a ring gear on. The end. Okay, yeah, this clutch is no good. All right, now we're going to slide this out. All right, so what happens now, see, like on this planet, okay, these bearings can fall out. So you got to make sure you have these things in and greased in, because even when you put this together, if this thing falls out, the bell housing is not going to sit flat. So these things have to be in place. That already has happened to me. All right, and there's one on this side too, but this one usually falls out. Okay, K2 clutch, we have a bearing race that goes here. All right, sometimes it's a whole bearing, and this one is just the bearing race. All right, now these clutches definitely are bad. I'm sure the steels aren't the greatest either. Yeah, I'm going to change both of them. All right, and you got a wave in the back. So K2, very high piston. Wow. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, we got 4. So let's take a look. So there are two different K2 clutches. And you know what, I think he's actually sending me the smaller set. Maybe that's what he felt it would take, because it's, you know, it's just a small passenger car, but he does have the other set just in case. So you measure from the tip of the tooth here, 180 degrees across, to the tip of the tooth there. So when we do that, yeah, I'm getting about 5 1/4, so he's probably sending the right one. Yeah, it's definitely not 5 1/4. Yeah, so this is 5 1/4. Okay, so this looks like the smaller one. All right, so that's the K2. No good. Let's take a look at the B2. Okay, clutches are no good, steels are okay. So the battery kit is in order here. K1. Okay, again, double-sided. Check out the F1 spray. There is, here we go. So let's get this snap ring out. There we go. Okay, yeah, this is early. And I believe when these sprays rotate, I believe both of them, but we've got to definitely check rotation, because the only reason why this spray can go in either way. Okay, it can go in this way, and it can, sorry, you can go in this way, fit, and it can go in this way. Now, a lot of times there's an arrow. You got to look for an arrow. Okay, here's an arrow right here. And the arrow's facing, and the arrow, you got to have the arrow facing down. And that's the way the spray goes in, and I believe it, rotates counterclockwise, and as they say, locks to the clock. So if there's any if you're not sure, then just kind of look real carefully. I'm looking at an arrow right here, and that arrow faces down. All right, that's K1. Now let's take a look at, we got to get the pump out. Let's take a look at the B2, I'm sorry, the B1. B2 was in the back. Transmission takes off on the B2 clutch. Okay, there's only 3 of these, again, double-sided. All right, so now we've got 45 torque bolts here for the body and gears we're going to take out. So we'll leave 2 in. Do a little extension. Get a couple of threads on each one. This also has a molded piston, and sometimes they come in a basket, sometimes they don't, but it's molded, so you know I certainly recommend to change it. So that's if you're buying a banner kit, just ask if that comes with it. I guess it really depends on who you buy it from, because companies may include it and some may not. Whoops. Okay, so here is our pump body and ears. Okay, the bushing looks good. Let's check out. Okay, pocket here, everything looks good. These gears look good. I got a dot that's facing up. And I got no dot on the inner gear, but I can see a witness mark of how it goes, so that's gonna face up. All right, so what we're gonna do now, we got a couple of rings here. All right, and we got the spray brace here, so we'll make sure that's smooth state of working. Now these are torque 30 around the inside, so we're gonna release those. That'll let us pull the stator out and leave the bell housing all by itself. Where's my 30 now? All right, so I'm going to release all the 30. Okay, so all the bolts are out. The basket. All right, so now we got to separate this. A little area we can get a little, see if we can get this thing started. And this is a pump plate here, but let's see how, okay. There we go. All right, and this pump plate should peel right off. Here is the plate. Sometimes these also come in the banner kit. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Okay, there's that. Bell housing. I think that's about it. So pretty much we're dealing with a clogged filter. I mean, there was evidence of water in here, but it's very possible that the converter is no good, is what clogged the screen, because after about 20 minutes of running, you can hear the zzz noise of the, you know, basically the pump starving for oil and because the fluid's not going up through. So that's it. So I'm going to just finish tearing this down, get the drums, get everything prepared, and wash it up tomorrow. And probably build this over the weekend. All right, so again, 2001 Mercedes E320 4MATIC 722.6. And I guess that's about it. You know, typical problem, clog filter. And I'm gonna be changing this conductor plate. This is gonna be changed. I'm gonna look at the solenoids. You know, these solenoids rarely go bad, hardly ever do I change them. I mean, unless this transmission was totally full of water, looked like a milkshake, I'd probably change the solenoids. But, you know, I get O-rings, I'll put new O-rings on. You know, when it did drive, it drove okay, cold. So, you know, put a new conductor plate on, that has a high failure rate, so that's common. And just, gotta get the number off the converter. We got the thing flushed out already, push the car out. Gotta keep up with the work here. All right, so I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you next one.